All right, today we're breaking down a story you're not going to find in any textbook. We're talking about 72 hours of raw, unfiltered audio from the digital streets. This, right here, is the anatomy of a verbal war. So let's dive right into the world of high-stakes social audio. This is a place where a war of words can literally rage for days. And this is the story of what happens when a verbal beatdown becomes a legend, and someone gets completely packed up. So our story unfolds on Clubhouse, which, for a time, was basically a digital coliseum. And for 72 straight hours, two people went to war, with an entire community just hanging on every single word.
Okay, so in one corner you've got Tori. From the audio, it's clear she's a formidable voice, known for these relentless, high-energy, and, often brutal verbal assaults.
And in the other corner, we have Z. She's a UK-based personality who finds herself right in the crosshairs of Tori's non-stop attack.
And look, let's be real clear about this. This wasn't just some argument. This was a total verbal demolition that listeners would end up calling a legendary pack-up.
So how did this all kick off? Well, it ignited almost instantly. There was no warm-up. The attacks were personal. They were vicious, right from the jump. And boom! That's the opening shot. The very first attack wasn't about some petty disagreement. It was a direct, deeply personal hit on Z's character as a mother. And Tori did not let up. The audio is just filled with these accusations, including this claim that Z denied her own children, that she even locked them in a closet. These are charges designed to completely dismantle a person's character. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just a quick little flare-up. This thing raged non-stop for 3 solid days. It became an absolute endurance match of verbal warfare. So as the hours turned into days, the attacks just got broader. It became a full-spectrum assault, targeting every single piece of Z's life. Her career, her looks, her past relationships, everything was fair game. I mean, just look at this list. The sheer scope of the attack was just massive. It was this chaotic storm of insults, with these key themes getting hammered over and over to paint this devastating picture of failure. And it wasn't just personal stuff either. Even Z's professional life was put on blast. The alleged failure of her wig business wasn't just mocked. It was framed as the real reason for the whole fight, basically saying it all started with professional jealousy. And then, things got incredibly serious. Tori accuses Z of filing a false police report against an ex, which took this battle from personal insults to really grave accusations of criminal behavior.
And all of this, it all leads to the climax of the battle. This is the moment that the entire community, everyone who was listening, unanimously called the pack-up.
So what is a pack-up exactly? It's way more than just winning an argument. It's the art of the verbal knockout. It's a dismantling so thorough that your opponent is left with absolutely nothing left to say. You see, throughout the whole thing, Tori was relentlessly framing the dynamic. This wasn't a debate between equals in her eyes. It was a lesson in power. She was the leader, Z was the victim, and she was in complete control of the narrative. The goal here wasn't just to win on one topic. No, it was to establish complete and total superiority in every single part of life: motherhood, career, social status, you name it. And you have to remember, this all went down in front of a live audience. People were clipping the best moments, sharing them, and acting as the real-time judges of this absolutely brutal contest. So after 3 days of this nonstop fighting, the listeners, who were basically the jury in this digital arena, they cast their votes. The community had watched the whole thing, and now it was time for them to give their verdict. And man, the consensus was immediate and it was clear. This one comment from a user in the chat just summed it all up. This wasn't just a win, it was an all-time legendary performance in the world of social audio battles.
The data from a listener poll really tells the whole story. They actually created a poll to make it official, and the results, well, they weren't even close. It was a complete and total landslide for Tori.
In fact, it was so one-sided that Z got only a single vote, and the person who cast that vote later admitted they only did it out of pity because the poll was so lopsided. A participation trophy, like one user called it. It was brutal. This quote right here captures the final outcome perfectly. The defeat was decisive, and maybe just as important, it was public. Her friends, her allies, her enemies, they all witnessed this complete verbal demolition. You know, this whole story is a masterclass in the brutal efficiency of a verbal takedown. But it kind of leaves you with one big question. When the conflict itself becomes the content and the battle is just entertainment, who's the real winner here?